Hello, Internet. Welcome to Only Kind of Everything. And despite the fact that we are a couple weeks away from Survivor Series and months away from the Royal Rumble, which is traditionally the start of the road to WrestleMania, I have decided that, hey, let's go ahead and try and predict WrestleMania. Now, I'm going to say this with some caveats. I laid a couple rules for myself that I had to be able to have some form of a storyline for the matches on this card. I couldn't just go, I'm gonna do, whatever. That being said, also, I'm only doing 5 matches a night. Mania will probably be 6 or 7, but I wanted to kind of give myself a challenge, and in doing so, there are some notable names left off. I'll leave that, though, for you to find out as we go along through the video. Now, we're going to start. The other thing I'm also going to mention, there's no real necessary order to how I've done these. They're just, the matches that I came up with, save the main events, which I think is probably going to be close to accurate. Now, kicking it off, night 1. I think one of the things we're going to see is the United States Women's Championship. I think this belt is going to go to Chelsea Green to begin with. I know there's been some people saying like Michin or Charlotte Flair, but I really think Chelsea Green has done such a phenomenal job since her return. She understands this character so well that I think going into WrestleMania, Chelsea Green will be holding that United States Women's Championship as she goes in to defend against Charlotte Flair. Now, the reason I specifically picked Charlotte Flair, I guess this is probably the closest to an exception to my kind of have to have a decent storyline going in, is that I really feel that WWE just has this strange obsession with Flair. I don't think she's going to win this. I don't think Flair is going to be the inaugural champion for this, but they're going to give her this belt for no other reason than they like keeping her in the spotlight. Not that's a bad thing, but it's kind of the WWE way. It's been under Vince more than Triple H. We haven't really seen a whole lot of Charlotte booking under Triple H, but I think they're going to go back to her at some point. And I would say that although Chelsea Green gets that title and holds it, I think they're going to be getting it. I would say probably War Games, Survivor Series. Chelsea's going to hold it for a while, but I think she would likely drop this to Charlotte Flair. The next match I have on my WrestleMania Way Too Early card, the Tag Team Championship on SmackDown, the Gorillas of Destiny challenging the guys who I think are going to be holding the belts going in, the Usos. Now, this is kind of an interesting match because it's an extension of this bloodline feud. But a couple things I want to point out. I've already pointed out in another video, I do think Triple H has really not done very well in terms of booking Jey Uso as a single star despite being as over as he is. I did mention in that video where I said, Triple H failing Jey Uso, that there was some rumor that I had read somewhere, and I haven't really seen much about it since, where Uso had said that Jey specifically, said that he did want to get back to tag team wrestling. So that's kind of where this comes from. But I do think that the Usos versus the Gorillas of Destiny would be a really good match. And we might even see some variant of that, leading into War Games and at War Games. But I think the story really will be, the Usos versus the Gorillas of Destiny. I do think the Usos will retain there. If for no other reason than, kind of throw these guys a bone. Jimmy and Jay especially, has definitely been on a roll this year. And he lost. Man, Jey Uso really deserves that kind of a win at WrestleMania. But I do think that, it'll be, the story going in will effectively just be, which Bloodline tag team is better. I don't know if the Bloodline battles will still be going or if it'll just kind of be a continuation of that. Triple H has been really good at this have one match, and unlike Vince, where if you're feuding with somebody, you're back to back for the next 3 months. Vince isn't doing, or Triple H has not been doing that as much. So there's that to think about. The third match on my card, and this one's kind of hard for me to call because I could see either way this match being done. Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio. Either Rey Mysterio's retirement match, and like if he loses, he retires, or a hair versus mask match. I think the outcome depends on what kind of match this ends up being. If this is Rey Mysterio's retirement match, I do think Dominic Mysterio should go over. It would be a really, really good feather in the cap of this guy. Really get him a chance to really go hard on that. Give him something to be an absolute piece of trash about for the next several months, if not years. I retired Rey Mysterio. But if it's a hair versus mask match, I think Rey would get the win there. Just because I think, I don't see Triple H wanting to unmask Rey Mysterio. But it would be, it's such, Dominic is such a bell end for no better terminology. It would be, he could kind of do that like CM Punk thing where he puts a mask on and to hide his face, and it lets him kind of do the mask thing that he kind of wanted to do, but really never got the chance to do. The next match that we would be booking is match number 5 on night 1, the main event, the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther versus Finn Balor. Now, my story going into this really kind of relies on the fact that Finn has become everything he said. He's basically kicked Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley out over. He's kind of becoming the leader. You can kind of see the writing on the wall already that Finn Balor is not what... He's everything that he's set out to be against in the Judgment Day. I really think that it's such a hard match to call because Gunther really... His bread and butter are these long, dominant reigns with championships. But I really think that this would be the time to give Finn Balor that world title win and run that he never really got due to injury. So I would definitely be saying that night 1 would end with Finn Balor holding the World Heavyweight Championship above his head. Now, night 2 is a little more story-driven, if you will, with a couple kind of like matches thrown in where I definitely had more storylines thought into for night 2. And we're going to kick off with the Women's WWE Championship. The defending champion, Tiffany Stratton, defending her title in a triple threat match against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Now, the reason I did a triple threat, not a fatal 4-way, I just think WWE does a little bit better of a triple threat than they do a fatal 4-way. Maybe I'm wrong on that. That's just personal opinion. But I really don't feel like Nia Jax would be involved this far in. And I do think that this would be the breaking point, if not prior to, the definitive breaking point for Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. But I do also think that Tiffany Stratton would walk away with the WWE Women's WWE Women's Championship retention successful. The second match on my card, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Now the kick to this match is that I really think that Triple H wants to have these two go at it on WrestleMania. The story is literally right there. Everything that Kevin Owens has fought for and against has kind of blown up in his face. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton have kind of, like, in his mind, turned their back on him. Sami Zayn, a guy who Kevin Owens teamed with to help really start bringing down the bloodline and taking the tag titles off of the Usos, ending their long reign, as tag team champions, is now back with Roman Reigns and the bloodline. I could see that being the pushing point, and we do get Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Now, I'm going to pause you for a second there, because I did miss a match on night one, and we're going to go back and talk about that real quick, because night one, I do think, is going to have another kind of long-term grudge match in Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. I do apologize, because that would have been way cool if I did them separately, but night one would have that match. You can already see the writings for that match kind of already starting now, with Ciampa really starting to lean into that psycho heel that we got in NXT, if you will. And it's going to be a good match. Those two can put a good story on. And honestly, I just think Triple H is going to run Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa back on the main roster. I think it's going to have the same story beats, and we're literally just going to run it back. I do think, as far as a winner goes for that match, man, that's going to be hard to call. I would probably say, if it's their first encounter, I would say Ciampa's probably going to get the win again. Especially because, like, I'm a belief that turning heel, you should be winning at least, on your feud, well, your main feud that turns you heel, because it doesn't make sense if you don't. They've made it make sense sometimes, like with Drew McIntyre, but I would think that in this case, Ciampa would need to win that. Jumping back to night two with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, I do think that Kevin is also going to get the win here. Not that Sami doesn't need or deserve it. I just think that's just a better, I don't want to say a better story, but Kevin, in his mind, is taking loss after loss after loss after loss. That, his character needs some kind of mental validation, and beating Sami Zayn at WrestleMania would likely be it for him, which would allow him to kind of finally break off and then pursue the WWE Championship or something higher up the line. The next match on my Night 2 card, I have the Intercontinental Championship being defended. Braun Breaker defending in a multi-man match against Damian Priest, JD McDonough, Xavier Woods, and Kofi Kingston. It's a 5-way match. Don't ask me why I did that, but that's what I did. I think the story behind that really more being that I do think Xavier Woods is going to turn heel before this, and WrestleMania will be his moment that he gets his first singles title. I would even go as far to say Kofi beats him in their feud. Xavier turns heel and Kofi gets the win on whatever match, and then this multi-man match in WrestleMania, Woods is able to beat Kofi there, and that's how he gets his first Intercontinental, his first singles title. To me, that's poetic justice, and that's some storytelling right there. My fourth match on this card, I actually originally had a different match on for this, but I think this one is probably a little cooler, a little less like dragging a story out. CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin has already said that he does want to work WrestleMania in Vegas. It's closer to home to him, and he does want to do one more match. And I really think that being able to go back and run the CM Punk Steve Austin match, that although it definitely wouldn't be the caliber that we had hoped for in 2013, I want to say when that was, when they had teased it originally, CM Punk and Austin would still draw a ridiculous amount of money. The question being, who would go over in that match? I mean, it's a flip of a coin. I would say, to me, it makes more sense that CM Punk goes over, if for no other reason than a full-time, quote-unquote, talent should normally go over a part-time talent or a returning legend. Austin got his big victory in Texas against Kevin Owens. I would say, and this is definitely isn't even a passing the torch. This is just what I would say makes sense to me. Austin goes out on his back, and Punk gets, I mean, it's not the main event, but he gets a really big moment. On the main event of WrestleMania, booked way too far in advance, night 2, I have Cody Rhodes defending the WWE Championship against The Rock. I don't think we're getting Roman versus Rock at Mania. That would be a better match to me, but I really think we're going to be doing Cody Rhodes versus The Rock at Mania. There's part of me that wants to see Rock win just to watch the world burn. Because it's going to tick so many people off. But I do think the smart decision would be to have Cody beat Rock. Whether that happens or not, it's hard to tell. You know, there's rumors of Rock, you know, in his contracts he can't lose or he can't be seen as weak or whatever. So it's hard to say, but I really think it would be a lot. The story makes sense for that Cody should be able to beat The Rock. But the part of me that likes watching the world burn does think if The Rock wins, man, the amount of people that would be mad about that outcome. I'll leave that to you guys. Who should Cody beat The Rock? Should Rock beat Cody? Let me know in the comments. And obviously, there are some major names I left off. Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, the Street Profits, who I do think would likely be involved in WrestleMania, probably winning some gold, if I'm completely honest with you. But, like I said, I was literally just thinking about it, and I was like, you know, it's way too early to be trying to book WrestleMania, so let's have some fun. And, you know, when we get closer to Mania, maybe even revisit this, just see how many of these 10 potential matches I actually got right this far in advance. Maybe my story's wrong, but I still got the same matches. There's a couple of them I'm a lot more confident in than others. But, guys, that's all the time I have for today. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, comment down below, do all that stuff. I've said some of this twice. And, guys, I will see all of you in the next video. Bye!